Hello all and welcome to 64 Squares Official. Today we have a game with Magnus Carlsen and Arjun Erigaisi locking horns in a chaotic tactical nightmare, and you will not believe the massive twists and turns that took place in this game. We are in Hong Kong for round 6 of the high-stakes FIDE World Team Rapid and Blitz Championship. This is a massive heavyweight battle between the defending champions Team MGD1 and the tournament top seeds WR Chess. Leading the charge on board 1 for WR Chess is the undisputed world number 1 Magnus Carlsen. Standing across the board from him is the blazing fast, tactically lethal Indian superstar Arjun Erigaisi, who has been aggressively tearing through the world rankings. So let's dive straight into the game. Knight to f3 and d5 and d4, knight to f6, c4 and e6, knight to c3 and bishop to e7. Now bishop to f4 and castling. Now e3 and c5. We have a classic queen's gambit declined 3 knights Howitz attack variation. Arjun strikes at the center immediately with c5. Now d takes c5 and knight to c6. Bishop to e2, preparing for castling on the king side, and d takes c4 and bishop takes c4. Now bishop takes c5. Carlsen goes for castling on the king side. The smoke clears from the early trades and the position is completely symmetrical and dead even. Now knight to h5, attacking the bishop on f4. Now queen to e2, knight takes the bishop. Now e takes f4. Arjun grabs the bishop pair. In return, Magnus accepts doubled f-pawns, but he gets a solid grip on the e5 square and an open e-file for his rooks to exert long-term pressure. Now b6, rook a to d1, attacking the queen. Now queen to e7 and knight to e4, eyeing the c5 bishop. Bishop to b7 and knight takes c5 and queen takes c5. Now knight to g5. Magnus shifts gears and starts sniffing around the king side, eyeing potential tactical sacrifices on e6 and f7. Now knight to d4, queen to d3, and knight to f5, rook f to e1 and queen to c6. Now f3 and b5, attacking the bishop on c4. Arjun plays a standard expanding move on the queen side, but it sets up a massive tactical trigger. Now bishop takes e6. Magnus goes for the spectacular piece sacrifice on e6. White has just thrown a bishop sacrifice onto e6, completely altering the game's landscape. Carlsen calculated that the pressure on the pinned e6 pawn and the f5 knight would yield an unstoppable attack, but objectively the engine prefers simply retreating the bishop to b3. Now f takes e6 and knight takes e6 and queen to b6 check. Now king goes h1 and rook to f6, attacking the knight. Now knight goes to g5 and h6, again attacking the knight. Arjun pushes the knight back, but it's an inaccuracy under heavy board pressure. The engine prefers queen to c6 to immediately lock down the defense. Now queen to b3 check. Magnus delivers a checking resource. Though rook to e5 actively threatening the f5 knight would have kept the practical pressure turned up to a maximum. Now king to h8. Now knight to f7 check. Now king to h7 and knight comes to e5. The knight retreats. Magnus is down a full piece for a couple of pawns, but the time control is dwindling down to mere seconds, and a wild time scramble is about to turn this board upside down. Now rook to d8, a massive complication from Arjun. In a highly double-edged position, he plays a line that allows massive tactical resource on d7. He had the option to play bishop to c6 to secure his king, but instead he chooses a dynamic path. Now knight to d7, Magnus sports it instantly. A beautiful royal fork hitting the queen on b6 and the rook on f6, forcing the material back. Now rook takes a d7 and rook takes d7. Now queen to f2. Arjun creates immediate counterplay, threatening the back rank rook on e1 and aiming squarely at the g2 square. Now queen to d1. The white queen drops back to d1, leaving the king's safety entirely up in the air. Playing on literal increments with under 30 seconds left on his clock, Magnus chooses to drop the queen back. The passive rook to g1 was absolutely necessary to shelter his king. By moving the queen to d1, the defense of the g2 pawn is completely abandoned. Now rook to g6. Arjun shifts his rook over, threatening a brutal mate on g2. Now rook to e2, the ultimate climax of the match. Magnus moves his rook to block the threat while attacking the black queen, but it walks right into a tactical execution. Now queen takes f3, an absolute stunner of a finishing move. Arjun completely ignores the attack on his own pawn and captures the f3 pawn. If white takes back with g takes f3, then bishop takes f3 with a check. What an unbelievable tactical masterpiece from start to finish. An absolute rollercoaster of a game where the greatest endgame player of all time completely lost control of the tactics in severe time trouble, leading to one of the most explosive tactical sequences of the entire tournament. If you enjoyed this wild tactical breakdown, make sure to smash that like button, leave a comment with your thoughts on that spectacular queen sacrifice, and subscribe to the channel for more chess action. See you in the next video.